you know, I'm throwing up, blah, blah, blah. I'm able to take some fluids in, but there are 89 other people going to the hospital for the flu. I know they're not going to do anything for me, except send me home.
So I don't think that a signature on a refusal does anything at all, good or bad. I actually think it can only hurt you, and here's why. If I don't perform a complete assessment, it doesn't matter what that patient said. But if I didn't perform an assessment that shows the patient didn't have the capacity to make a medical decision, like I didn't take their SpO2, some other witness testifies their lips were blue, that signature is meaningless, absolutely meaningless. It does not absolve anybody from liability. What absolves people from liability is, did you do a complete assessment, and did you advise the patient of the risk and benefits of any medical decision that were going to be made? And courts have long held that signatures on medical stuff that says, I'm not going to sue you, or this absolves people's rights, zero effect. Zero effect.
So
why are we doing it?
so even on a treated and
Tradition.
even on a treated and released, you're still, obviously, and this is a rhetorical question, you still need a full assessment and such, but you're not
based upon the chief complaint, the situation counted.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have to check their Babinski reflex
if they broke their finger.
Right, yeah.
I've used refusals because of somebody I want to take to the hospital and they don't want to go. Like, you know, if you go meet the police somewhere, somebody's acting up or whatever, and they call us to do something. I've used refusals because I want to take somebody to the hospital, but they don't want to go. And that's their right. They're perfectly safe to be. They can be crazy if they want. Is it going to protect me?
Just having them sign it?
Well, I mean, obviously I got to fill out all the stuff and make sure that I assess in why I want to take them to the hospital, but they still refuse.
I think what's more important is your assessment and what you documented than the signature. And the reason, again, why is we're specialized folks coming there. So we have, by law, have to do certain things. As long as we've done those things, we've met our duty to that patient. Just because the patient made a decision that was unwise doesn't mean they can come back and sue us, as long as we did what we needed to do. The result is not important. What is important is that when we encountered a situation, we took the appropriate actions. Because everybody in this room will eventually die at some point. So we're not insurers of life and health. And the only thing that we can control is our own actions. So I think maybe what we're talking about is like the policy issue of a refusal and how it's done versus the overall legal picture. And what I'm talking about is the overall legal picture and the documentation that's done. And whether we call it a non-transport or a consult or a refusal, if we don't do the assessment and we don't inform the patient of the consequences of whatever decision is being made that we know of, not unknown consequences, but that we know of, regardless of how we label it, and regardless of whether or not they sign the document. These two things, doing an assessment and informing the patient, are what will preclude liability in any situation. The signature alone will not, whether we call it a non-transport or refusal will not. Our own actions, when we have to do those actions, is what will. Does that make sense? Or have I confused it?
No, actually, and what you're doing is mirroring something we're actually going to talk about when you're finished.
Oh.
We're going to talk about our policy on refusals, and you basically have the slide up there that says that you have to have informed consent and document that this person has the capacity.
Then should we remove the signature?
No, I think this, our policy.
Yeah, let's talk about that in the second half.
Second half,
so
and our policy probably will still be that you, that signature is going to allow you to say that you, and other documentation.
Right now.
I think it is
I'd rather
evidence,
use
but
his
it's not
time for
conclusive.
his presentation, Lieutenant, and then we can talk about that in the second half.
I just have one question though.
Chris had one. So you said you're a paramedic, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you've gone to people's house, you've assessed them, done everything you thought was appropriate for the way that patient presented, and you looked at them and said, there is absolutely no reason why we need to take you to the hospital.
I didn't phrase it that way, but
Okay. So,
it's a joke.
did you phrase it, look, I don't really see anything going on that, where we need to rush you to the ER.
That's
You
exactly
probably
how
need
I
to follow
phrased
up with somebody, but you still offer them but, you know, if it's something you wanna do, you wanna go, I'm asking.
Mhm.
Or have you gone in and said, look, I already know I'm not transporting this person, there's absolutely no reason to, after your assessment,
Mhm.
I'm not talking about when you first walk through the door.
Yeah.
Are you comfortable saying, look, I've done everything I know, and there's no reason for me to rush you to the ER?
I tell patients, I do the assessment, I tell patients, couple things. We're not going to go emergency to the ER for 3 things. I'm not going to treat you en route to the hospital, and we're going to go to triage. If the nurse says it's okay to go to triage. That's what's going to happen. 1, I'm not going to lie to you. 2, this is my assessment. So if you want to follow up with your primary care physician based upon what I've assessed, there's not an immediate need to do these things based upon what my protocol says. And most of the time patients are like, oh, okay, they still want to go or they don't want to go. And there's other factors that carry it too. Does the patient have a way or a means to get to a primary care?
Yeah, I
You know,
am
all
on
those
board
things.
with you, I was just
Yeah.
trying to figure out,
So-
you know, you don't think you have to transport everybody.
Personally, not
Yes.
associated with Columbus or anybody?
Right. Yeah,
No.
personally, okay.
No. I think our biggest failure in EMS, partly because we have bad documentation, is that we failed to understand that there are certain categories of patients EMS cannot help other than keep them on the hamster wheel and move them from ER to ER to ER. And we have to recognize that and then do something proactively about it. Not just leave them there,
Yeah, I understand.
but help get them to the place they need to go.
Cab vouchers would be great, but I don't know.
I don't, yeah.
Well, along those same lines, then, how much liability are we leaving ourselves open for when